Welcome back, guys. Do you know what day it is?
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Thank you again for your flexibility and understanding, allowing me to attend AVID training. It's gotta be kind of fun for you thinking about the fact that I'm on the other side of things now. I'm not the teacher today, I'm the student. I probably have homework and stuff too.
Did you do your homework? Did you do your homework?
Watch your mouth!
Did you do your...
Yesterday, I talked to you a lot, so much, about text structure. And I know it was kind of information overload.
Explosion.
The thing with text structure is you got to front load with all the different types of structure, and then our next step is just going over the process of how to determine which structure we have. Luckily, although text structure can be very complicated, the process we use to determine text structure is relatively simple. So I'm going to briefly describe that process to you, and then I'm going to model it using several examples so that you get a sense of how it works. When you have a passage and you're trying to determine the structure, it's about a 3-step process. Step 1, read or skim over the passage so you have a basic understanding of what it's about. I recommended this with chunking for main idea as well. Sometimes when we are trying to analyze a piece and dig into it, if we don't understand what the text is saying, we can get hung up and it can slow us down. Step 2, go back through your passage and look for signal words. I recommend, if you can annotate, that you do circle them, highlight them, underline them, something, so that you can start to see the patterns. The greatest key to figuring out text structure is being able to find and interpret your signal words. So if you don't keep track of them, you might miss those patterns. Step 3, after looking at your signal words and kind of guessing which text structure you think it is, check that by looking back through what the author says and the relationships that exist between the ideas and claims. Once you've done that, you should have a pretty good idea of what your text structure is. So I'm going to go through one example for each structure, and because it's summer and we should be having fun, we're going to use comic books as the subject of our text that we're looking at. All right, passage number 1. Step 1, read. Though Venom may be one of Spider-Man's greatest enemies, they also share quite a bit in common. Both have a large spider logo on their chests as part of their costumes. Also, like Spider-Man, Venom's powers are based on spider-like abilities, such as being able to shoot webs and crawl on walls. At the same time, Venom also has some very striking differences. One of the major differences is just how much physically stronger he is. Venom is able to lift somewhere near twice as much weight as Spider-Man. Also, Venom is able to use his costume to shapeshift his outer appearance into anything, like clothing, or even to copy the appearance of other people. Furthermore, Venom's costume is actually a living alien that covers his skin, while Spider-Man's costume is just regular fabric and cloth. Okay, so my passage is about Venom from Spider-Man. Now I'm going to go back through and search for signal words that'll help me figure out the structure. The first words that stand out to me are common and differences. That makes me think this is maybe a compare and contrast text. So I look for signal words that I would find in compare and contrast. I notice also, share, both, and while. Looking at my signal words, it seems that the passage might be compare and contrast. So step 3, let's check that out. So the author is describing Venom's abilities in comparison to Spider-Man's abilities, although Venom is a villain and Spider-Man is a hero. Compare, contrast, similarities and differences, checks out. So passage 1 is compare and contrast. Passage 2 is about Iron Man. Let's check it out. Step 1, read. The Iron Man armor, as well as providing superhuman strength and physical protection for Tony Stark, also contains jet boots that allow him to fly, and a variety of weapons including repulsor rays, pulse beams, missile launchers, lasers, tasers, and flamethrowers. The unibeam in the center of his chest can emit various types of light energy, and his helmet contains communication devices, including FM radio, scanning equipment, and recording devices. Okay, so the passage seems to be focusing on Iron Man's suit. Let's move on to step 2, where we look for some signal words. I'm really struggling to find signal words, but I notice the word contains a few times. I notice various types and as well. I'm wondering if we're talking about the parts of a whole. Maybe description? Although there weren't as many signal words, there seemed to be a lot of lists of features. I'm kind of thinking maybe this is description, but let me think back through it. In step 3, I'm thinking back on my text structures, and I'm thinking about how basically this passage is talking about the whole of Iron Man's suit, and then listing and describing all the features that it contains. When I think of that idea of whole to part, of taking a big topic and breaking it down and describing its various parts, that does check out. This text is description. Yeah, that makes sense. This text is description. Passage 3 is about the Hulk. Step 1, let's read through it. The Hulk has the potential for spectacular and seemingly limitless physical strength, depending directly on his emotional state, particularly his anger. This has been reflected in the repeated comment, the madder Hulk gets, the stronger Hulk gets. During times of high stress or anger, an increase in adrenaline causes the Hulk's strength to increase dramatically. There has never been a limit shown as to the highest strength the Hulk can reach. Thus, it is assumed it is limitless. Okay, this passage seems to focus on how Bruce Banner changes into the Incredible Hulk. Step 2, let's look for signal words. At first, I was a little confused by the signal words. I was struggling to find any at all. But then I noticed the word causes, and I started to think maybe it's cause and effect. I went back and looked at the text through that lens. The phrase depending directly on, the word increase is repeated, and I noticed the phrase depending directly on and has been reflected. I'm wondering if this is maybe cause and effect. There aren't a ton of signal words in this passage. So for step 3, I'm really going to have to use my big brain. So step 3, let's check that out. The main idea of this passage seems to be that the Hulk's emotional state can impact his physical state and abilities. So when someone causes him to become upset or angry, the effect is that his strength increases dramatically. Cause, effect. So while my signal words didn't help me out a whole lot, by breaking down the text and really getting at the main idea, I did figure out that this text follows a cause and effect structure. Passage number 4. Step 1, let's read. To start, choose your superhero's powers. Since superheroes are generally identified by their powers, it might make sense to think of the powers first and then shape the character to fit them. Next, decide how the character got those powers. Picking a cool power isn't enough. To make it relevant, you have to integrate it into the character's life story so that it becomes part of what defines their actions. Now you are ready to name your superhero. Once you feel confident that your character is dynamic and well-rounded, find a unique name. Be careful not to accidentally choose something that's already been taken. Lastly, decide if your superhero has any main enemies. Again, flesh out the enemies the same way you did the superhero. Okay, so this one isn't about a specific character, but how to create one. Time for step 2. Let's look for those signal words. The first words of the paragraph are signal words. To start. As I skim back through, I notice first, next, then, now, once, again, lastly. All these signal words suggest an order of events. I'm thinking sequence. Those signal words help me out so much. It seems that this is describing a process that must be completed in order. If I think back on my text structures, that seems like sequence. Step 3, let's talk it through. So basically, this is almost like a how-to guide to create a superhero. There are certain actions and steps that the author recommends you take in a specific order. If I followed those steps in a different order, it probably wouldn't be as successful. So order is important, and because the author's whole intention and purpose is to outline those steps in order, I know that the text structure is sequence. And finally, passage number 5. Step 1, let's read it. After struggling for years to find ways to help struggling students in her reading and writing classes, a local teacher has found a surprising answer. Using comic books and graphic novels in the classroom is about tapping students' natural interests, explains Rachel Sawyer Perkins, a teacher at Dolores Street Elementary School in Carson, California. She also believes that it's a way to teach important reading and writing skills. For students who lack the ability to visualize as they read, It provides a graphic sense that approximates what good readers do as they read. Moreover, it provides an excellent way for reluctant writers to communicate a story that has a beginning, middle, and end. Okay, so this one, again, isn't about a specific hero, but it seems to be about comics and graphic novels and what they can do in the classroom. For step 2, I'm going to go ahead and read back through for signal words. I noticed the phrase "found a surprising answer." We find answers or solutions when we face problems. I also noticed the phrase "to find ways to help." She also believes, provides an excellent way. So I'm thinking if she was looking for a way to help and she found an answer, it's problem solution. So the signal words were a little different than what I would expect them to be. However, they were helpful. It's kind of leading me to think cause and effect or problem solution. Let's figure out which one it is. Step 3, let's analyze it. The teacher in the passage noticed a problem that some of her students were struggling with reading and writing and struggling to visualize. So she found that using comics and graphic novels in the classroom helped those struggling readers and writers. So she found a solution for her problem. Okay, so this is problem solution. So guys, just like when we were trying to identify author's purpose, identifying text structure is easier sometimes than others. The important thing is just to keep working on it. Keep looking for the relationship between the author's ideas and claims, and you'll figure it out. So tomorrow, we're going to look at actually the interrelationship between author's purpose and text structure, and talk about, once you've identified a text structure, how should it impact your reading. I'm very excited for things to be back to normal tomorrow, and I thank you again so much for your patience in the interim. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow.